Hey everybody, Tim here. Hey, so today I kind of wanted to touch a little bit on some of my workflow. This one's going to be geared towards my bridge to Photoshop workflow. Last week I had a young lady in the studio. We done some photos over here. You can't see it, but I got a little studio, a little shoot lane over here. And I came into a situation where I had her lit pretty well, but I was getting some shadow under her chin, so her boyfriend was in the studio with us at the time, and I just had him put a hold a reflector under her chin, filled that shadow in, and I'm just going to remove him in Photoshop and kind of process that image for you guys. So, we're just going to go ahead and jump into it now, and just kind of show you my workflow, kind of here how I do some things. Now, we'll pop into Bridge here, and here's the two photos here at the bottom that I worked with. And so out of Bridge, I'll just bring them into Camera Raw here. This is just a raw image converter, and I've already made some adjustments to my highlights and my shadows here. So I'm just going to open that straight into Photoshop. Let that get opened, and then I'll jump back over into Bridge again, and this one right here, open that into Camera Raw, and make sure that we have the same adjustments as the previous image. Open that one in Photoshop, and now we got both images open up in Photoshop. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my move tool here, and we're just going to move this photo over onto this photo. Now, if I just drag and drop it here, it's just going to drop it anywhere on this image. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is once I have it, I want to hold Shift and then drop it. That way, we are lined up on the photo. If I just drop it anywhere, it drops, and then we're not lined up, and then I got to go through and line it up. Just kind of prolongs that process. So just remember that if you're going to drag and drop, trying to line those images up, just hold Shift when you drop it on the image, and it lines it up pretty well. So now that they're on there lined up, I'm just going to take this mask here, and if you can see, what I'll do here, I'm just going to close that image out. I don't need it no more. You can see the shadow I'm talking about right here under the chin. I just wanted to kind of fill that shadow in a little bit right there. And so with that reflector, I've done that. Now you don't need a reflector. I mean, you could use a piece of white, cardboard. Just anything to reflect and bounce that light back up under her chin or his chin or your model's chin. A bounce card. Just anything really just to bounce that light back up in there. So I've added a mask to this layer. I'm going to get on my brush with a black brush here. And all I'm going to do is make sure I'm at 100 opacity. Really soft brush. And we're just going to paint him out of this photo. Just like so. Real easy. And I'm going to crop this here in a minute, so I'm not worried. And making sure that we have the light that fell on her before he stepped in to hold the card. There we are. And there we go. So, there we go. She moved a little bit, but, that's not too noticeable. And I kind of like that there. So now that we've got that filled in, and I'm okay there, what I think, I'm going to look at something real quick. Yep. So we are good there. Fill that in. Take that back out. All right. I'm going to flatten this layer. I'm going to create a new layer. And here comes the fun part. So I'm going to crop this, but I'm not going to do a traditional crop. I'm going to crop it the way I want to crop it because it's my image and I'm the artist. And I'm going to crop it, and I'm going to crop down into her head. And I know some of you, your heads are spinning, and that's okay. Because as artists, we can do this. Because I like the way that image looks there. with it cropped just like that. Now I might pull this right side in just a little bit. You know, if we were doing an advertisement or something like that, maybe we'll leave that more space over there for wording, things like that. But this ain't gonna be really an advertising shot, so we're gonna leave it like that. Kind of get her on a third. You know, and get in there. And if I do content aware, it will fill in this down here, but I'm not gonna worry about that. I'm just gonna crop that in, and we're gonna call that good. I like the way that that looks. Happy with that crop. And now my backdrop, I haven't quite figured out how to do this one. Maybe some water and a blow dryer or something to heat this up, get these wrinkles out. But this clone stamp tool works really well. So on my Mac, Option, pick up a selection here, and just paint out those wrinkles. Just cloning them out. It's real simple, real easy. And I love the clone tool. Get a little bit bigger here. Me and this clone tool, we went rounds before I really understood kind of how to use it. And sometimes we still go rounds, but you know, we're getting a lot more friendly with each other. All right, I think that looks pretty good there. I'm gonna go ahead and flatten that layer there, and we're gonna kind of start on this edit. One thing I like to do with most all my portrait images here is I like to do a frequency separation. Now you can build them, and I've built them, and I think in a later video I'll go through and we'll build one. But there's a couple photographers that I really, really enjoy, some educators out there, and Joel Grimes is one of them, and I've gotten some of his actions, and he has a frequency separation action that I just love, and they're so simple and easy. And you know, I run it, and it's boom, the whole action's there. And I'll kind of walk you through here what they are. So our low layer, our high layer, grouped together for the skin, a dodge and burn layer, and a black and white layer. Now this black and white layer is a reference layer, and I'll show you what that is here in a second. On our low layer, we're dealing with kind of the color, and on this high layer, we're dealing kind of with the texture. So you can rename them color, texture, kind of however you want to. And this dodge and burn layer. So if we zoom in here and be careful, you might not want to do this in front of your clients or your models because it will freak them out. But if you take your red channel and you really dial it down, you start to see even the smallest little blemishes pop out. But this gal has really good skin. But even with this black and white layer, you can kind of see them, you know, even the smallest ones. So we'll go through with our healing brush here real quick, and on the texture layer here, we're gonna go ahead and just like the clone stamp, we're just gonna kind of go through and clean that stuff up there. You know, it's not a lot. Like I said, she had really good skin. So, you know, working with this model was a breeze. Real easy touch up. I mean, super fun. She was super awesome. We had a lot of fun. So I think for the most part, that's probably all I'm gonna really touch up there. And the cool thing with this frequency separation is like little flyaways, little hairs. You know, you can kind of clean up as well. And you know, it's an awesome tool. If you guys use it, you probably swear by it. If you don't use it, maybe you've never heard of it, or maybe you just, you know, you like the spot healing. Maybe spot healing is good enough for you. And if that's the case, that's fine. I think that the frequency separation does a lot better of a job. But that's just my opinion. Now this lower layer here, this color layer, you can use that to kind of blur, you know, those really soft images that you see out there. You know, chances are they've done some type of frequency separation to those. and some of them can go real overboard. Now, this black and white layer, I think, I'm done with it. Like I said, it's just a reference layer, so we don't need that no more. But I'll just kind of go through and kind of show you a little bit what this lower layer, this color does. So if we take and we come up here to our lasso tool, and we get us a little patch of skin here, and we don't want to go too big all at once, and we go to our filters and we go to a blur, and we come over here and we go to our Gaussian blur, and right about 8 is pretty good. See, if you come up too high, you'll start see how it gets really crazy. So 8's pretty good, and so let's hit OK, and you can just start kind of coming through here, and you don't got to be super. I want to feather this probably about 20 pixels. 20 pixels out. So it kind of picks up around where I'm not just outside my selection. And you just kind of come through and pick up some areas, and it's real good, for blotchy skin. This will, can work wonders on blotchy skin. Can really smooth makeup. There's a lot of good things that this frequency separation with this blur can do, and there's a lot of different tools out there for this. Like I said, or like I say all the time, in Photoshop, if there's one tool that does something, there's probably 10 other tools that do the same thing. And at the end of the day, what are you comfortable with? What did you learn with? What do you use to get the job done? And that's fine. There's no one way to do something, as long as you're getting the job done and you like what you're creating. That's what it's all about. I think I hit that twice. I'm going to go back. And so you can kind of see a little bit of what that does. That does there. And I can show you kind of one other thing real quick. I'll just throw in there as an extra. So if I wanted to, right between these two layers here, I can add a blank layer, and we can call that, paint or color. And what you can do is, so let me grab a brush, and option on the Mac here, I can choose a color. So the color of her makeup here, and we got a big brush and it's soft. We come down a little bit, and I'm going to drop the opacity maybe down to, well, no, I'm going to leave it at 100% so you can see what it's doing. We can paint some makeup on there. So we can paint some makeup, and be careful because you can go overboard. You see that? Paint that makeup on there, and you can give them more makeup. So we throw another layer up there. We've got the brush. We're going to go down to about 100. We're going to do about 50% opacity there, and we're going to do about 30% here, 20%, and we can throw just a little bit there, and maybe a little bit over here, just like that. And it gives it just a little bit more. I think that's good there. And what I like to do at the end is, I didn't really talk about the dodge and burn. Let me talk about that real quick. So dodge and burn, you can tone. You can add more highlights to the highlights, shadow to the shadows. You can bring shadows out. So what I'll do around the neck there is, let me get my dodge and burn here, make sure I'm set at 5 in the mid-tones. And what we'll do is we'll kind of come through here a little bit, and it's very subtle, and we're just bringing those shadows up just a little bit. And to check that, just go over here and you click that on and off, and you can see just ever so subtle, it's lifted those shadows up. And you can come in, and you can you can go overboard, so you got to be real careful. But just make my brush smaller. We can add a little bit more shadow to the nose here, thin that out. You know, give it some definition. I mean, you can do a lot of stuff, you know, depending on how far you want to go, but I'll leave that kind of up to you guys when you're working on your own images there. But I do at the end, I like to, you know, hold shift, select all my frequency separation layer and group it and turn it off and on and just kind of see the changes that I made. Do I like it? Did I go too far? There's no changes there. There's width. And, you know, we can drop the opacities. We can leave it 100%. You know, I think it's just right. And so I'm going to leave it. You know, I like it. Turn it back on, make sure none of my layers are turned off, and I'm going to flatten this out. And I'm going to create one more layer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do each of these eyes individually. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do them all. I'm going to do both at once. I'm not going to do them individually. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of make the eyes pop a little bit. I'm going to take my rectangular marquee tool. We're just going to come right across the eyes. And we're going to Command C, Command V. Command C copies, Command V puts it on its own layer. And once those eyes are on its own layer, if I turn both these layers off, you can see I just got the eyes selected here. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a high pass filter on these eyes, on her eyes. And we're going to do about 24. We hit OK. And yeah, that looks really crazy. But I'm going to change the blend mode to soft light. And if you noticed, you know, we made that selection. We've got, you know, her eyebrows and some of her nose and under her eyes. You know, we don't want all that selected, right? So what do? You know, we're just going to throw us a white mask on there. And, you know, we can even change that white mask if we hold Command, I believe it's Command I on a Mac. Change it to a black, and now it's completely covered. Go to a white brush. And now we can just bring this down a little bit and make sure our opacity 100, normal. We're going to paint that eyes out with that high pass filter. And we're going to pop those eyes. Right? Get those eyebrows, or excuse me, eyelashes. Sorry, ladies. And right there. And so now, turn them on and off. And let's come out. Command 0 kind of brings us full screen here. And we can look at them. Is it too far? Is it enough? You know, I kind of like it. Maybe we'll drop it down to about, I don't know, 70. You know, I think that's pretty good. And the one other thing that's been bugging me is this hair right here. Now, it might not bug some of you, but for me, it kind of bugs me. So what I'm going to do is, again, I like where my photo is at now. I'm going to flatten it. I'm going to create one more layer, and I am going to clone stamp. I'm going to clone out that hair right here. So I'm going to zoom in, clone this hair out. Option, sample. Again, being kind of careful, trying not to, you know, don't want to go too much there off the shirt. Makes it look a little wonky. But we're zoomed in too, again at 200%. And, you know, if this was going up on a big wall, you know, maybe you'd take a little bit more time. Really make sure that shirt doesn't look really weird right there. But this isn't going up on a wall, so, you know, for what we're doing with it, this is going to be acceptable. And I think you know, let me zoom back out here. I think for the most part, I think that right there is pretty good. I'm not really too keen on, I don't really like how that's looking there. So I'll try to fix that real quick without being too picky. And then kind of clean that just a little bit. And I think that's fine. And I think that's good right there. So that's really it. It's real quick, real easy. You can do that edit about 4 minutes if you're not talking through it. So, you know, I look forward to kind of showing you guys the frequency separation more. We're going to get into some bigger edits, some more stylized stuff. So, yeah, I look forward to hearing from you, and, you know, stay in touch. Talk soon.